Hello, boys and girls of any age. This is a tale that is truer than anything you have heard. This is true story. When I was a little girl, my mother told me this story, and she said her mother told her that story, and her mother told her that story. So it came down from the generation. Now, in a little island in the Caribbean called Leguan, you may not have heard of it. It's not one of those fancy tourist vacation. No, it's a small, little, rural kind of island named Leguan. At first, the island was packed with something called iguana, but the people ate the iguana, and then there's no iguana there now. But this island is named after that iguana. I don't know if it's because of the remoteness of this island, but on that island, there were lots of people. Well, not lots of people. We had a small population. But most of the men, nearly all of them, would drink rum some every day, and they would get drunk. And when they get drunk, they would go home and pick a war with their family, their wives and children, and they would beat them to a pulp. They would beat their children very badly. Now, there was a man who had a little bit of status in this community, and his wife and him got twins. Now, in North America here, we would say these twins were born with some kinds of, they're special people. They were short, like dwarfs. And this man was so mad. And he would beat his wife even more. And he would beat those boys so badly whenever he got drunk and call them all kinds of names. And one day, this man went too far. And he beat the boy so badly that day when he was drunk that they both died. They both died because they just could not take it anymore. And nobody asked anything because there is police, but there is no police. They buried these boys, and I think the husband was feeling kind of glad that they were out of his life. Okay? Then, every time on Hallows Eve, people began noticing something happening in that village. I mean, people drank even more on Hallows Eve, which we call Halloween here. But that's supposed to be some kind of a religious holiday or some kind of a ritualistic holiday back then. And men would go and beat their children and beat their wives as if there's no tomorrow. Now, it came upon a day on Hallows Eve when these men went out and they were coming home. They usually come home late at night, maybe 10, 11 o'clock, but it's dark. This island had no electricity, so it's dark. And they were coming home, and all of a sudden, they begin to feel lashes coming at them from left, right, and center. And they didn't know where these lashes coming from. But they were being beaten and beaten and beaten. They run until they run in their house and lock the door and begin shivering and calling for help from their wives and say, I don't know what's happening. Something is beating me. And not him. There's several men who were beginning the next day. Broad daylight, everybody start talking. My God, what happened last night? And everybody, they couldn't figure out what was going on. But even when it's not Hallows Eve, any time somebody go out there and get drunk, they will be raced home, they will be beaten and whipped and galloped to their house. And until there was a big fear on this island because something was going on. And why it's only men that were getting it? Women, they walked anytime and nothing ever happened to them. Only men. And they begin to put two and two together. These men were all drunkards and they went home and beat their children. Now, one man who had a little bit of seafar abilities, meaning he could see spirits and all these kinds of underworld thing. He said one day that he noticed when this guy was beating him, like he noticed two kids. They were beating him. And the name of the twins who died that belonged to that man of influence, their name was Baizi and Baya. And they started looking at one another. Do you think Baizi and Baya come back and doing this to us? Some people say, nah, that's stupidness. No, dead people can't come back. But this continued to happen. These men were being beaten. They wake up with big black eyes, big jaws, teeth knocked out of their head. And so they became afraid to go out at night. And even if they go out, they became afraid to drink alcohol. Maybe they take one drink and then they sit for the night and they try to get home before it's too dark. Before long, there weren't a lot of people going out to drink late at night. Not a lot of men going out. They go out, they early and they come back early, and then they weren't drunk. They weren't beating kids and beating their wives so much until, even if they beat their children and beat their wife and they go out, soon as it gets dark, they would be whipped. But they figure out that once they are not hurting their family, then nothing is happening to them. Even if they walk late at night, they're okay. And then, bit by bit, that island slowly, alcohol became a thing of the past because they begin to figure out that this demon, good demon I call them, who were doing this to them were that two little kids whom their father beat to death when he was drunk. Baizi and Baya. And Baizi and Baya one day showed himself to these men and said, you will never beat another child. You will never, ever beat another woman in this island and get away with it. And by God, they were trembling because they were dealing with something they had never seen before. They were dealing with ghosts that they had never thought had any power. And so that village, the men was whipped into shape. And up to today, if you go on that island, you find the best fathers and the best men. They don't drink anymore. They drink a little bit, a shot here and a shot there, Christmas, Easter and holidays and weddings. But no, those guys have changed. Children are free. Children are loved. And thank God for Baizi and Baya. They brought peace to children. They brought happiness to children. Happiness they never knew. But they knew that evil perhaps was in the drink, the alcohol. So from that day forward, the last Hallows Eve, the people on that island was transformed into the nicest people you could see. And this is not a tale. This is true story. And you can go tell anybody that I tell you so. See you all next time. Next Halloween, I will bring you another tale that you would make your hairs on your head stand up. Okay? Go on.